Welcome to another Angel Studios live stream. We are so thrilled to have you with us here tonight. We are also super excited to announce that we just recently released a new film onto the Angel Guild platform called Breaking Into Beautiful. And this film is actually the whole reason we are gathered here tonight. On this live stream, you can expect a couple of exciting things. We will be joined by a few guests from the film, the director Dan Davis, and as well as some members of Kim's family. We will also discuss the process of producing this film and what it was like to direct and be a part of this incredibly inspiring and obviously very challenging 5-year project. We will also get to know the story behind the story. You won't want to miss it. And additionally, if you're not already an Angel Guild member, it is the only place you can currently watch Breaking Into Beautiful. So make sure you go ahead and join the Angel Guild if you haven't already by going to angel.com/beautifullive. We will be having a powerful Q&A interview with our guests tonight. So with time permitting, feel free to submit your questions in the chat below. And if we have time, we'll maybe get to those at the very end. So with that being said, we want to make sure you all have had a chance to see the trailer. So let's go ahead and check that out right now.
You have an airway that scares the hell out of a lot of people. Honestly, if they can't intubate you, if they can't do anything, you could die.
Well, first of all, there's a lot of new faces on here. Hello. Welcome to the insane roller coaster ride of fighting cancer for 5.5+ years.
She was diagnosed very late with a very bad cancer to have.
He literally looked at me and said, chemo doesn't really work for your type of cancer. I don't know what else to do. You probably have 2 to 3 months to live.
I'm 26 years old. My daughter's 18 months old. And you're just looking at me right now telling me I'm dying and that there's nothing I can do. Is this really it? Like 2 or 3 months and I'm gone. I will never forget a comment that I got on Instagram from someone, and she said, I don't even believe in God, but I can't hear about your story and not believe in miracles.
From the dark.
I'm a firm believer that people come in your life for a reason. I kept thinking, why are this woman and I friends? How did we meet? How is this happening?
I know you think she's dying, and I know her body seems like she's dying, but this is your first interaction with Kim. She felt very clearly that she was being kept alive for something. And she was like, I have to share this. I think God is keeping me alive because God wants me to tell people about it.
This isn't a recipe for overcoming cancer. It's a recipe for living a messy but beautiful life.
We hope you guys enjoyed that trailer. Just as a reminder, for you to be able to watch this film, you have to be an Angel Guild member, and you can do so and sign up by going to angel.com/beautifullive. And now, without further ado, we are thrilled to share that we have a full show for you guys tonight. We are joined by director Dan Davis, and as well as Kim's family. We have Treagan White, Hensley White, and Kim's parents, Jane and Gary. But we will not meet them all at once, so we're going to go ahead and start off by meeting with Treagan and Dan. So we're going to go ahead and welcome them to the live stream. And welcome, you guys. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, how are you guys doing tonight?
Good. Happy to be here.
Well, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to spend with us here at Angel Studios. It's not so often we always get to have it here at the studio, so it's been such a huge pleasure to have you guys here. So
thanks for having us.
But we kind of talked about this earlier, but the response has been incredible. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I feel like it's just blown up, especially on the Angel app. What are your guys' I don't know if you guys knew about that, but what were your guys' response to that, just how much it took off on our platform?
I've wondered. I haven't known, so.
Well, maybe you can speak to that,
I mean,
Dan.
at the end of the day, like, you just hope when you put something like that out to the world and you put your heart and soul into something, you hope people, A, watch it, and then B, that their lives are forever changed. And that was the whole point of this project and Kim's legacy and her story. And so I'm thrilled to hear that, because that means the more people that watch it, the more chances we have to improve people's lives and help them, change directions or pivot. or live a better life, and that's what we can learn from the story.
Right. And I mentioned earlier, we've been talking about it here at Angel for a while. We're so happy to have it here and on our platform. So, but why don't we just jump in on this? We're so excited to have you guys here. So, Dan, why don't we just start with you? What inspired you to take on this project and be able to document Kim's life, and especially these experiences that she went through, and as well as her family?
Yeah, I mean, there's just stories that I've come in contact with that I'm drawn to, and it's the people, right? And it's their experience in this life and what I feel like they have to offer the world. And when you watch somebody like Kim, it's pretty obvious that she had something to offer the world and needed a megaphone for that. And so the first time I met Kim and Treagan, it just came down to just feeling that inspiration and that draw to them, and making sure that we honor, the story, and honor that in a way where the world can see how to live differently. And so for me, it was an easy draw, easy pull, but there's only stories like Kim's that come around, every so often. They're pretty rare.
Sure, yeah.
And so to be able to come in contact with them and meet them through a mutual friend and have the honor and privilege of telling their story, for me, it was an honor of a lifetime, because how unique the story was and how unique they are and how special they are. And that's to me the heart of why I told the story, is because I was drawn to it and felt like I had a purpose in getting it out to the world.
Yeah, and how long was the project exactly? How long, I know it was over a while. How long in totality was it?
Yeah, I mean, we met Kim and Treagan at a Imagine Dragons nonprofit gala in Vegas in 2019. And shortly after that, Kim had found out that her cancer had returned, and we had lunch, I believe the day before a scan. And so it was a pretty quick turnaround as far as let's go do this. But it was also in the middle of a really tumultuous time. I won't speak for you, but that was a really scary and difficult time. And it took a long time to document that, but also just to do what was right by the story. And that was really, really important to me. And it was really important to find the right home. And that took time to do that. And we're so thrilled that Angel was that home, and we've always thought it would be a great place to amplify her light through Kim's story.
Right.
And so that's really, that process needed to be, it needed to be just that. It needed to take that time so we could do justice by the story, but also find the right home.
Yeah. Can you speak to that, Treagan, with that experience when you guys first met?
Yeah, I mean, well, the process we were going through, Kim and I, at the time was, realizing that her story was more than just in her Instagram. I mean, early on it was informing family of what just happened in the last scan, or what happened. Is it spreading? Is she better? Do we have time to go do something and visit family? And it was calling every one of her siblings. It was calling every one of her aunts and uncles and friends and everyone every time, and then forgetting someone and feeling really bad. And so then it became, well, let's put it on Instagram and let them come to us. And she did that, and it was, so that's where we were. But we realized soon after that it was making a difference, that people were following her, and so we wanted to. There were so many details that you couldn't share, and so many things that were helpful in different ways. With spirituality, with your relationship with God, but also like the logistics of finding out you have cancer and figuring out where to go next. And so a book was the idea. We had people reach out to us wanting to help write a book, and we felt we want to write it ourselves, but we don't know how to do this. And so it was a struggle, and we would write. We like to write a lot, and so we would write. And there were just a lot of papers out there that we had written, a lot of journals out there that I would write or Kim would write, and then it was trying to figure out how to bring things together and make it into a book instead of like a timeline of what happened.
Right.
And so then we went to the gala at the Tyler Robinson Foundation with Imagine Dragons, and that was moving in and of itself, but at the end of the night we ran into each other, and I think they had pointed out or kind of spotlighted Kim or something, had her stand up, and Dan approached us afterwards, and we were like, oh, this is amazing. We don't have to write a book. We can get the story out there in another way that we had never considered.
Yeah.
It wasn't an option to do something like that, and so it was. Kim right away was like, oh my gosh, that felt so good, that conversation. This is something we've got to do. This is right. This is what we need to move forward with. Right. And then I don't know how long after
well, I
that
mean,
it was.
I actually just looked at the text that Kim sent me that night.
Really?
She sent me a text later that night and said, you know, I know we're supposed to do this. It was almost like she had this knowing, and I was just figuring it out for the first time. Yeah. But I told her I felt inspired to tell your story, and she actually said, I've been looking for a long time for somebody to document my story, unbeknownst to me. And then just to read that text again the other night, because I was trying to put the timeline together, and she just knew, like, this is something we're going to move forward with. And I didn't know you guys, you know, were thinking about writing this book for so long and back and forth on that. And so it's really neat to hear that information and say, look at that divine timing where it just kind of came together.
And so I guess in connection with that, what do you guys feel like, because we're kind of talking about the process of filming this in the beginning, and then over the course of, was it 6 years? Was
5
it 6
years. Yeah.
5 years, okay. Still a long time. What were some of like the most challenging parts to capture? What were some, like, how did you go about, you know, how to capture this part or the filming this? Because a lot of it seemed like almost on the fly, because you
it was.
And so I just kind of maybe speak to that. What were some parts that were challenging, and even basically be able to depict such an emotional journey as Kim's was?
Well, I mean, I first have to start with how unique it is that a family is open to depicting their journey with cancer and the grief and the heartache and the frustration and the ups and downs and everything in between. And just to be open to that, first of all, is really unique. And then to be not just open to sharing that, but open to like documenting that with the crew and everything. And some of our first experiences were of that scenario of on the fly, you use that term. It literally was, I'm going to the ER tonight, and us offering, our producer and myself, do you need a ride? Treagan's out of town. And us just kind of thrown right into that dynamic and accepted as family. And being in their home on a regular basis. And I shared this with somebody the other day. I just would sit for hours, you know, at the hospital with Kim until it was the right time to film, and then I would call my crew and say, hey, can you guys come? We need to capture this. And there were many, many moments like that, but just the uniqueness of the family trusting us and allowing us into that sacred space is what I call it, was unique. But then this idea that nothing is off limits, because Kim wanted that. She wanted to show those ups and downs, those vulnerable moments, those heartbreaking moments that we're over there, somebody's recording sound. Our producer, Emily, was recording sound one day for us, and she's just got tear-filled eyes while we're in the ICU before Kim goes into surgery. Those are intimate moments that, like, we felt were sacred. We felt we were very fortunate to be able to be in the room and feel that spirit and energy and that fight firsthand, and then to also be able to say, this is our duty and responsibility to share this with the world, because we got permission to do that. Right. Unique scenario.
Yeah. And Treagan, what was, from your perspective, like, you know they're filming, you're in scene sometimes. What was your experience of that with these moments, these filming moments with it?
I was, that was limited for me, right? Because there were some appointments that I was able to be there. At that time, when Sturry was involved, I was pretty heavily involved in my job that was taking me out of state, and so it was great having people that could be there and document things, because I couldn't be there at certain times, and it's not like I was taking off. She wanted me to. I wasn't just taking off. She was like, no, go work. I want you to work. I've got a good support system to either mom and dad or siblings or friends. She had a great system of support that could be there. So she's like, just go work. I don't want you to be stressed. And then the bigger appointments and stuff, I would make sure to be there. But I think that, it was hard to not be able to be there, but to be able to either watch things back or get a report of like what had happened, and knowing that there were people there that cared about her. As far as like, Kim didn't start so raw and so like she didn't want to divulge everything, and I was even more like,
are you sure you want to do this?
Careful what you put out there. But it was also just going to family. Like the following of her Instagram was family and friends, so she could be very vulnerable. And then slowly, like, oh my gosh, look how many followers I have. Oh my gosh! And every time she'd post something, it got more and more and more. And it's like, how do you just change and start? Like the comments she would get back from people, and people that would run into her and share their how it had affected her story. They would always say it was the very vulnerable things, or the things that most people wouldn't share maybe, or the very emotional, moving moments that wouldn't have gotten put out there for the public, except that she was already doing it for the family. Right. So that just became, and when she saw that is what was, that's what people were asking her, please keep sharing that. That's what helped me. Then it kind of became its own animal, and I don't think she was thinking, let's put this out for everyone. She was just already doing that. It was just part of who she was and how she shared. By the time Sturry was in the picture, it was already like, okay, I guess we're sharing.
We're doing this.
It's happening. And so it wasn't as hard then. And it was great to have somebody who was, who sees you as an individual, me, who I felt like it was kind of like behind the scenes, and I didn't want attention, but for someone to come in and ask questions and be like, how's this affecting you? Like, this has got to be hard. And it was like, yeah, it is. It is really hard. And so it was great to have people that were experienced in interviewing and like prying into your life to get questions, like good prying, Yeah. And so it was great to have Sturdy involved at that point. It was great. And
kind of in connection with that, what do you think Kim hoped for as a result of documenting her journey and turning it into a film to share with the world? Like
that was a direct. That was a conversation you guys had. That was a conversation we had over and over of why I can share my part at least. Like Kim was doing a lot of speaking engagements because she didn't want to get her story out for the sake of her story. She saw that it was helping people, and she was like, there's so much that we're going through that will help other people with either resources that you letting them know how we navigated this, how you can reach out for help, and in so many ways that it helped people. She was like, well, I'm alive, and God kept me alive when I shouldn't be alive, over and over and over. I can't not share that. I can't just keep that to myself and let it warm my heart and move on. I have to let other people know. And she did have, a lot of it was, I've got to share with people that there is a God, and I felt him. I need to share that because he kept me alive, and she made deals with him all throughout. Keep me alive, I'll share this. And so she and sometimes those were colorful conversations with God that she would raise her voice and she would yell at God. And she's like, I've learned that God can take it. God can take me yelling and screaming at him, and then he can bless me still. So that was a lot of her motivation, I think. She wanted to share, get that out and share, but she felt obligated to share because of that.
Did you want to add to that as well?
Yeah, it's just interesting hearing you say that, because one of the things that struck me in the very beginning was just how absolute she was about her relationship with God and about our plan here and plans changing and submitting yourself to God, whatever he has in store. And that if things go wrong, it's not that God messed up or you messed up. That's part of your plan, divine plan, not the one you set out to accomplish. And she was clear about that in the documentary, talking about how in college a teacher asked her, what do you want your life to be? White picket fence, and I'm married, and I have this many kids, and all of us do that. That was like one of the most relatable things for me to hear during the process of interviewing her, is because we all set out these plans, and if it doesn't go according to plan, we're like, well, that's messed up. That's not how it's supposed to be. But she was so clear, in fact, that the first time that I talked to her about doing her story, she was like, it needs to be big. And I didn't even know what she meant by that. We were at lunch and she's sharing this, and I'm like, and she's like, basically, Grant, I don't know film. I don't know what this means, but it needs to be big. I can't use this 5-10 minute story. And I'm like, she's talking about a feature-length documentary here. I had no idea that's what she, had in her mind. But then when we put the pieces together, I remember saying to her and texting her one night, about what we were going to do moving forward, and just saying, I think this was part of the plan, that we were supposed to connect in this life and do this story together for your family and for you. And it sucks, all the hard things you've been through, and the timing, we weren't sure about timing and how this was all going to happen, but we just were like, we got to turn the cameras on, because this is a real God moment that's happening. And if we ignore those promptings, then we miss something that needs to be captured. And I remember kind of sharing some of that, like, hey, we were meant to do this. This is like part of the plan. And she was just like so absolute and like, yeah, I know, Dan. And I was like, hey, this is a big moment for me, okay? But for her, it was just like, yeah, of course. And she was always like that throughout the filming process. She just knew there was a bigger purpose to all of this. I'm going to execute on that purpose. And it was almost like, come on, guys, are you in or are you out?
Catch up.
And we just said, we're all in. We don't know how it's going to work out, but we're gonna do this. And I say this all the time. I did not know this mortal journey could be so beautiful and so heartbreaking at the same time until we started turning those cameras on and filming this story. I didn't know you could see, feel, hear things in this mortal journey that were that elevated until we started that process, and I was like, whoa, I am seeing through a different lens than I have my whole entire life. And Kim had already accepted that, uncovered that, and allowed us into that, and all of a sudden my vision of this life was changing, and I'll always be forever indebted to Kim for helping me open up my eyes, because it has helped me in every element of my life, every aspect of my life, every up and down on my own journey. And I know that's the truth for everybody else now, because she let everybody into that same way of viewing and seeing life, and God is in the details, she says. And I got to see that firsthand.
Yeah. It's a strength to see such vulnerability at play. Like, a lot of people, I think, forget that it's a total strength to be able to be that way. And so kind of in connection to that, in that journey, and being able to see how much she just took charge. She just knew what she wanted to do. And I saw that completely throughout the film. She was in charge. And
She's a firecracker.
She was. Sure. She truly was. And it seems like she was always been that way. The way you guys told her story and everything through the film. And kind of in connection to that, I really would love to hear kind of some of the deeper stories with Hensley and with Jane and Gary. So we're going to go ahead and transition here real quick. Dan, we're just going to send you off, and Treagan, we're going to keep you right here.
Okay.
We're going to go ahead and bring Hensley, Jane, and Gary on, and then we'll Dan's not going to be gone for the rest of the stream, but we'll be seeing him here shortly. Alrighty, well, welcome, guys. We're so happy to have you here. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend with us. We're so excited to kind of just jump right in and dive into what we've already been talking about today. So, Hensley, we kind of just want to start off with you. We wanted to ask you, what were some of your just memories, just some of your favorite memories had during this time from experiencing the filming process, or just anything you want to share as far as memories go from that time?
There's this memory I have. She was just about to go into the hospital, or she was in the hospital, but just about to go into surgery, and I came in and I was like sitting on her lap, we were rocking back and forth, and there was a song that was playing. It was Warrior by Avril Lavigne.
Avril Lavigne.
Lavigne. I guess I said it right. And I just, every time I see that moment, I just cry because I think it's one of my favorite memories, and it's just such a sweet memory. I think it's my favorite memory, and I love seeing that. It's also in the film. It's so it's fun to see it.
It's your guys' song, right? Is that what it was? Okay, that's what I remember hearing that. That was a really precious moment that you guys shared together.
I wasn't really filmed a lot, like, because obviously I was really little, but there's this memory I have. It's like, it was already after my mom passed away, but me and my dad, I remember him like telling like, just act like it's normal, it's your normal life. And I was like, okay. And I had to do my homework. I like made my bed all nice and stuff. And it like they just filmed us doing my homework. I don't know why I remember that, and then we went on a hike and stuff.
Because you usually didn't.
Yeah. Why you still me out? Okay. That's the only part I remember. But like we also went on a hike and stuff with Luna, and I think that's like probably my only really memory of me filming. But I just remember there was always cameras in the house and stuff. I was like, oh, my mom's so cool. She has always filmed. I thought it was so cool. I was like, yes.
But no, thank you for sharing that. And I guess also, like, how do you feel now with capturing all these memories of your mom, and especially with what she was going through? How do you feel towards this being a film and, being shared with the world now?
I think it's really cool that, like, other people can see it and see what we went through. And, like, I just love what the film means and stuff. Like, it's just pursuing. I forgot the word. But it's just like keep going, keep trying. Perseverance. Thank you. Perseverance. Like the kindness of it. I just really love it, and I love how other people can see it. How I can still watch it when I'm older, and stuff. Cause like I'm already forgetting stuff, and it's so nice to have her Instagram account and the documentary to watch and like be able to remember things with.
Yeah. I'm sure it's nice to just have to like just watch over and over again, I'm sure. No, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. And I guess with now being 12, how has your mom's story kind of shaped who you are today?
It kind of helps me like be stronger, I feel like, cuz like sometimes when I'm sad or I'm in a bad mood or something, I think like if I'm about to cry, a lot of times I feel like don't cry, because like I feel like I don't deserve to cry because all the stuff she went through. I'm like, this is nothing compared to that, so don't cry, you're fine. And I think that's really helpful because it helps me calm myself and helps me like keep going and be stronger.
Yeah. No, it's
You can still cry.
We've talked about it.
I know it's okay to cry, but still.
Just helps you be strong.
Yeah.
Though. Like you can be strong and cry.
That's true.
Right? I see what you mean though. Like it helps you like have the strength to keep going and not just sit there and wallow in your puddle of tears. There's a lot that Hensley doesn't remember, but and that's kind of hard sometimes, I think, because it's so fresh for us as adults. It's like it just happened. It's like in certain aspects it seems like it was a long time ago. Other aspects it seems like it just happened. You can still feel certain things or remember the smell of the room when something happened or the music that was playing. It's so clear. And for her, it was half of a lifetime ago. And so we try to we look at pictures a lot together, and we try to talk about things. You remember that? And she's like, no. I'm like, that just happened, it seems like. So it's heartbreaking for me that some of the things that her mind wasn't developed enough to remember it. So we talk about things like that a lot. We talk about how, like, what happened in certain situations and how she was and her reaction and how Kim reacted to her. So we try to keep her alive that way. Keep Hensley's memories of her alive. Video, and this film does it too, because when she's there's memories I have from when I was a kid that I remember it, and I know I remember it, but then I figure out later that it was on a VHS that my dad carried around and filmed, and that's why I remember it so clearly, is because it was on film. Right. And so that's why we want to review photos and videos all the time, and this film helps with that.
And Kim was adamant. I mean, she was adamant about protecting Hensley for what she could see, what she did see, and what she didn't want her to see. Some of the things that would take place in the hospital. She was protective, and she was just like a mother hen. She protected Hensley on so many cases. So,
well, I remember when she was 18 months old. All this had just happened. And I'm driving to the hospital, and she's in the car, and she's going, no hospital. No hospital, a no-go hospital. And we entered in a different way, hoping that would help her and let Kim know we were coming, because she couldn't handle seeing all of the tubes in her and everything. So we'd cover that all up. Otherwise, she wouldn't come to her mom. She would have nothing to do with it.
Yeah, I remember seeing videos of that.
We put her in a chair instead of the hospital bed. Make her look as okay as possible. Cover her arms with blankets so that Hensley would sit on her lap, because without, she wouldn't want to sit on her lap because she's like, thinks she's going to hurt her, and it scared her a little bit.
Hensley's experience didn't start when she was 7 and her mom died.
Right.
It started when she was 1.5.
Right. For you, Jane and Gary, what has it meant to you both to see Kim's life like honored in this way and depicted in this way?
We're really, really glad that she can be an example. That's what we're honored with, is that she's an example for the world.
That's what she wanted. She wanted to leave a legacy of honor and of her strength, of her position as her God. She wanted to make sure people knew that she turned her life over to God when she couldn't have control. Kim liked to be in control of things. Just about everything. And so there was that pivotal point when Kim finally goes and switches and turns it all over to God. And that's when life really started to happen for everybody, I think, is she started to live knowing that, I mean, she knew she was going to die. She knew at some point in time that her time would be up. And so, it was just one thing after another.
Thank you for sharing that. And with, I loved how it was so well depicted, how she's like, I'm just going to live life and make it the fullest I can, despite, the circumstances that she was in. And kind of related to that, those moments that were depicted in the film, do you guys have a favorite memory from that just throughout? I'm sure it was astronomically difficult to see your daughter go through that, but do you have a moment that you just kind of cling on to during that time when you guys were filming?
I think I loved seeing them go off on vacations. Mm-hmm. She says, we're making memories. I got to make memories. And this one went to places I've never been. And I think it's just awesome and wonderful that she got to do that. That they got to do that. They had a company send them to Tahiti. I mean, just the world was awesome at being a part of this life. Mm-hmm. People just used their hearts and sent them places and did wonderful things for them. And those are wonderful, wonderful things that happened.
Which we're still grateful for, by the way. Those,
that's so cool.
You know who you are and how you were involved, and we're so grateful for that. And Kim was, honestly, she was like, this is awesome, but it's not fair. Yeah. It's not fair that we have this much support or this platform, or that people are helping us and we have a lot of support. And she met somebody that was going through something very similar, cancer, different kind of cancer. Obviously every situation, every cancer is a little different, and even if it's the same cancer, your situation is very different. So comparing trauma and comparing tragedies, I don't know if it's ever a good idea, but when someone is going through a tragedy, you need as much help and support, and she met people that had zero support, whether that's family or friends or just a community, and they're very shy, or they just don't have a platform to share what they're going through. And that's not fair. That's not fair. So that's why she wanted to start helping other people with like her nonprofit and trying to help young mothers that had cancer and had young kids at home. So that was
Kim lifted people. She had just a way of doing that in life in general. There was times that Kim and I would do the appointments and go with Kim to almost all the doctor appointments. Few did I miss, or procedures. And there were times where she didn't feel like it. I mean, but she said, "Dad, we have to go up to the university. We got to go to the Huntsman Center. We've got to go visit this person." And she'd just been through a major ordeal, procedure, but yet she was adamant about going and see this person. And she would do that all the time.
Wow.
Yeah, she just lifted
people in the hospital that were sick. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know a lot about many of those until after she passed away, and I got to look at journal entries and photos and stuff, and then I would get DMs and mail, snail mail, and just on her phone. I had her phone for a while, and there would be people like, "I don't know if anyone's looking at this, but," and I got so many stories and photos of her with people in the hospital, in their hospital room, and her sometimes looking really healthy and sometimes not looking very healthy, but being there with somebody that was in worse shape at the moment than she was. And I'm like, what? When did that happen? I don't even know who that is. I don't know. And it was really heartwarming and just built me up to know, oh my, she didn't even tell me half the stuff she did. She went and did these things, and then would come home, and I'd get home and she'd be like, have dinner ready or something, and I'm like, oh, and we'd talk about things that happened, and she wouldn't even mention that all the good things that she did to help people that day. So yeah, she really was about trying to help people. That's when, like you said, she turned her life over, and she still wanted to be in control of it, but she said, I'm not in control, but I can control these things, and that's when she would kind of reach out and help people.
Yeah.
I just had kind of an in connection to that, just back over to you guys, Jane and Gary. What was going through your mind filming your daughter's journey and hoping people watching in the future would take away from it?
With the filming process, it wasn't something that we actually noticed much, because we were just living the life that was thrown at us. And so with the films running here and there are many a times I've seen pictures of me in the documentary with Kim. I'm thinking, I never seen any cameras around during this time, but that's why I say we were living the process more than anything. So
that she fought that to really live, you have to fight. No matter what your problem is, no matter what you're going through, giving up was not part of her makeup.
Wasn't
and
an
that's
option.
what she wanted people to know and to live and go live like him. Live like her. She did a triathlon, July. She died the next February. That's on the film when she's coming out of the water and high-fiving. Yeah, she had just swam a mile, and then she had to get on a bike.
Down the
and
Snake
then
River.
they had to run 6 miles after that.
She
And-
destroyed me, by the way.
Yeah, she did.
She lost
They thought I
you.
drowned.
We did. We're looking for Treagan.
Every
and
person that
there's no
swam
Treagan.
past me is like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "What? Am I flailing or something?" And she was out like 15 minutes before me and waited for me.
Yeah.
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 She was just a great example, and we would like the world to see that she was a great example and that you can do this, no matter what trial you're given.
You can do hard things, and that's what she was trying to get across, too. You can still do hard things, and you can still have family and friends and relationships being sick. I mean, she was deathly ill at times, but yet there was always someone there to lift, that she would lift, play cards, or whatever. But there was always people in the house, too, that would kind of help lift everybody. So it was, and that's what she wanted to do. She wanted to live as normal of a life as possible.
And I kind of just had one last question for you, Jane and Gary. Kind of what you guys were talking about, just all the experiences and how she was lifting other people up while she also needed to be lifted up during her experience and her struggles. But there are definitely going to be people as a result of, tuning in tonight that are going to watch the film. And, they're learning about, a little bit of behind the scenes, all the experiences you guys are sharing that, that will impact them and invite them to go watch the full film maybe this weekend. And some of them may be going through a similar experience that you guys went through. So I guess with that being said, what would you say to audiences watching tonight as a result of watching the film and after listening into this live stream?
I learned from this experience that I wasn't in control. And maybe that's where Kim got her I'm in control thing, was from her mother. I had to give it over to God. I literally had to say, okay, I can't control this, but I can be there. I can be there for every moment for Hensley. Gary would go off to the appointments and I'd be tending this one. And I'm awful grateful that I got to do that. But yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Gary, did you have anything?
I just think it was that Kim just was adamant about lifting others, and I think that if anything comes out of this whole thing, is that you can do hard things. It's possible. It's not free from pain. It's not free from the hurt, but you can still do stuff regardless of your position in your health fight, in your battles, whatever battle you're fighting. And she tried to make it as pleasant as humanly possible for everybody around her. For us, I remember the first time she said she made the comment to one of our daughters, we found out, where she said, how am I going to tell mom and dad that I'm going to die? That was when she was first diagnosed. How am I going to tell mom and dad that I'm going to die? And she was concerned about everybody else. And she just wanted to make sure everybody else was taken care of. And that's why she was so adamant about, she said, I have to, the day of the Hail Mary, Treagan had gone off to work. We had to keep Treagan at work so he could pay the bills. Keep paying for Kim's spending. But
and medical stuff.
And and that's what I mean. And anyway, and Dr. Z had come in, and we talked for a few minutes, and he told us the procedure and all this and that and the other. And then he left, and a few minutes later, it was just Kim and I. Neither one of us wanted to talk much to each other, because we knew if we did, we'd both bust down crying. But the very last thing she said to me, she when I went down to kiss her, she grabbed me and she says, Dad, I have to live long enough that my daughter will remember me. That was one of the things that she was adamant about. I have to live long enough that my daughter will remember me. And she did that. She made it to that point. Given a death sentence of 2 to 3 months and then get 6 years out of it, unheard of with this particular disease that she had. But she was so adamant about living long enough so Hensley would remember her. And the film, that's the beauty behind the film, is the film brings a lot of this for her. If nothing else, that it helps anyone, it's just going to continue to bring life to Hensley to look back on her mom. and see what challenges she overcame when she has hard experiences. I know that I've thought about that many a times. You know, I always think, well, Kim got through it, I can get through this. And yeah, so I think if you take anything from the movie, it's going to be that you can do hard things.
I want to take some time now to kind of talk about the kind of fast forward now that we're in 2025 and kind of hone in on that, I guess, in retrospect with just Treagan and Hensley. So Jane and Gary, we're going to send you off here just temporarily. We'll be back with you guys in just a little bit. We're going to go ahead and just jump in and transition to this next little piece that we'd love to chat about.
Okay, sounds good.
Cool.
Can I say something? You guys, I know maybe this isn't even the place for it, but you guys are such an inspiration to me because I don't know what you went through. I went through it as a husband, which is very, very different than as a parent or as a daughter. And I think that knowing Hensley growing up, when Hensley was younger, it would have maybe been even harder, but like I put myself in your position and try to see how my little baby girl, what would I do? I think that, again, we're comparing tragedies, right? It's the same tragedy, but we're in different positions. I can't imagine having been in your position and seeing what you guys did for her, for me, for Hensley and everyone. It breaks me down regularly to know that you guys showed up over and over and over, stopped working, Jane retired early to be able to come to our house and stay there and help with Hensley and Kim. And it is such a beautiful thing for me, and also a source of just a lot of pain for me to think, gosh, if this were Hensley, what? I couldn't have done it the way you guys did it. And the way you guys did it was right. You supported us every step of the way, and Kim knew she had you. That's why she could say, go to work. You need to work because of you guys. Not because she didn't need me. She could have needed me more if she didn't have you. And she could have been like, I need you there. And she was like that with me before. Before she got sick, when she hurt her knee or whatever, she needed me there. And she said, I just want you when I'm sick now. I don't need mom and dad anymore. I just want you. But because of the type of mom and dad you are, she was able to say, look, I need you to do this, Treagan. They're going to be here for me in this way because you can't, or we'll switch off, whatever. So you guys are such an inspiration. And in comments that I got on Instagram too were like, I love her relationship with her parents. and I got messages from people that over and over how much they liked Gary, and his heart is so soft. I love Gary. It's so sweet. But thank you guys. Yeah. I just wanted to say that while you're here and let you know how much I love you.
Well, if we did it again, we'd do it just the same.
Yeah, it wouldn't.
Isn't that amazing to be able to say that?
Yeah.
I wouldn't change anything.
Yeah. I wouldn't. There's things I would have changed.
Yeah.
There's some things I wish I could have done a little different, but you guys did it.
Thank you guys for sharing that. Thank you.
I was gonna say something before they left, but it doesn't. They don't need to be in here for it. But knowing how Kim was, likes to be in charge, type A. What is there? Everyone always says she's like
strong-spirited.
Yeah, spirited or just like in charge and what did they say? Firecracker. She's firecracker. Everyone says that, and it's so true. But this girl is the exact same. And so it's like, it's beautiful. It's hard as a parent. I just sit here and I'm like, oh, good, she's going to have, because of this, she's going to be this way when she's an adult. She's going to know how to approach a problem, fight when she needs to fight, defend herself if and when she needs to defend herself, be her own advocate if she has a medical issue, whatever, because that's how Kim was. Kim was the same when she was a kid, and so I'm just like, okay, it's going to be okay when she's older. This characteristic is going to serve her as she gets older.
Just deal with me, okay?
Bear with me. I do. I don't even have to just deal with you. It's like, I love it.
Well, speaking of that, actually, Treagan, that transitions really well into what we're actually about to talk about.
Okay.
Because it sounds like that's exactly how you keep Kim's memory alive. It's this
And celebrating
right here. And I know you kind of touched on this earlier, but I guess moving forward and now looking back, it's been 5 years, and the movie is officially for all to, for almost all to see. How do you plan to continue to keep her memory alive? And you both can feel free to answer.
Celebrating. Like on Valentine's Day, I wish you should keep me from school, Dad.
We should. Okay, maybe. We celebrate on Valentine's Day,
and on her birthday.
Yeah.
And most of the time when we go up to Logan, which is where she's buried and where Nana and Papa live, we normally go and see her grave, and which is really nice. And last time on her birthday, which is November 8th, right?
Girl,
yes!
December 8th.
No!
Come on.
I thought it was November.
December 8th.
I was close.
Just happened.
But yeah, we went to her grave and we got her favorite drink. Was it Fizz or Swig?
Before she got sick and swore off sugar, she would get Dirty Dr. Peppers.
Dirty Dr. Pepper. We got that, and then we were gonna get flowers, but we forgot. Shame on us. But we got some Dirty Dr. Peppers, sprinkled it over her grave, which is sweet. But I drank the rest. I'm sorry, Mom. I drank the rest. It's mine.
It's fun. That's a good way, right?
And what? Celebration of life. That.
Mm-hmm.
Are we still doing that?
Well, we had a celebration of life instead of having. I mean, we had a funeral, but instead of we wanted, and we had talked about this before she died. Well, before she died, she didn't like talking about dying and wouldn't, because that puts the bad juju out there, and so she would. I mean, we'll probably talk about advice to others later on, but that was one thing that she didn't like to consider. Let's not mention dying. Let's not mention what could happen on the negative side, because I don't even want to consider that that's an option. I'm gonna fight and I'm gonna win this surgery. I'm gonna recover, and so that was part of it was we don't want this big long sad funeral. We want a party. We want to have a big party. And that girl could dance. She loved dancing, man. So it was
you
let's
could
have
tell. I loved it.
Yeah. So we did a celebration of life, and we had planned it to do that every single year. That's we haven't done that every year. We did it for 3 years, but that's why we still celebrate on the day she died. That could very well be this sad, somber day that we just
cried
act like it didn't happen, or just celebrate Valentine's Day and not think about that because it hurts, but we celebrate. That's kind of how. What else do we do? We talk about her a lot. We have pictures up all over.
Mm-hmm. I have a couple pictures on my in my room, side of my wall. Look at them every morning. Which is I wake up and I'm like, hi, good morning, Mom.
That's cute.
Just
like this.
No, and kind of speaking to that, you said you mentioned about advice. There, like I mentioned earlier, there could be people in the audience tonight that are oh, I would love to know what I could do moving forward. Maybe they're at a turning point. Maybe they just got the news. What would be some advice, moving forward,
Well, there's some great advice. Kim has her advice in the show, right?
At the very end. Truly.
So her recipe for a messy but beautiful life is I would recommend you watch and take her advice. Being able to step back and say, no, I've got a lot to fight for. Just focus on what you have to fight for and fight for it. After we knew that was going to happen, it was, how do we make memories now? Mm-hmm. Now we need memories together, and that helped too. It helped us focus on what's happening now, not planning for some future event, not knowing that there's going to be a disastrous future event, or let's save money so that when we're 65 we can go on vacation. It condensed a lifetime into a few years.
Right now, practically.
What do we want now? What do we want to do? And have a bucket list and start checking off on that bucket list, right?
We were kind of talking about this in the car, but doing things you regret. Obviously, I was really little, I didn't really understand, but I'll be watching videos and I'm like, oh, I wish I was just like, things I regret. We used to butt heads a lot, and like, I wish I would just like listen to her, but again, I was really little. I didn't really understand. But like, if you know someone's gonna die, you know their life's gonna end sooner than most people. I'd like just know they're scared and like listen to them and, you know, like be there for them. I don't know how to explain this, but, you know, just don't do things you would regret. I'm stumbling on my words now, but like just love them, be there for them. You know, don't squabble with them.
You were a great little kid. You weren't some hellion that just never listened and was horrible. You were a great kid, and she...
Thank you.
Yeah, you did. That's why she wanted to stay around.
But just as a result, now that the film's done and it's out, what do you hope maybe kids your age should take away from it or hope to take away from it?
Kindness. A lot of kids this age, they're not the nicest. I feel like my mom showed a lot of kindness to other people. She was shown a lot of kindness, and I think that's a really important part that, like, my generation is missing. And, like, also, like, again, perseverance. I remember the word, yes. Like, just keep trying. Don't, like, if you want to do something, set your mind to it and say, I can do this, I'm going to do this, and go forward and do that. And just, like, follow your dreams, and if you put your mind to it, you're most likely can do it. You know, just keep trying.
Keep trying.
No, those are powerful lessons to take away. And after having watched the film, it's definitely there. And I'm very excited for people that, you know, haven't yet gotten to see it, now can. And so, and before we kind of just jump into the next thing, I do want to mention to those that are listening at home, you can actually watch the film on the Angel platform. All you have to do is sign up and become an Angel Guild member, or if you already are an Angel Guild member, it's available. But if you are not yet, you just have to go to angel.com/beautifullive, and you can go ahead and sign up and watch the film today. So
go watch it.
Yeah, go watch it.
It's good.
But thank you so much. I want to just say thank you for all that you guys have shared. I want to kind of basically just have us, you know, bring this show to a little bit of a fun close and bring everybody back in. So we're going to go ahead and bring the whole family back in. So bring back in Jane and Gary, and as well bring Dan, the director, back in, and we can go ahead and go from there. So.
Can I give another piece of advice?
Yeah,
I don't want to talk.
No,
I don't want to take.
You're good.
I started going there and then I forgot. Okay, somebody gave Kim a pamphlet, or not a pamphlet, like a manila envelope one time, one of her friends, and her mom had passed when she was young, and it was so cute. She created this and had a bunch of individual pieces of paper that had like pre-written, not written letters, but here's a letter for when your children graduate high school. Mm-hmm. Here's one that for when you when they get married, what advice would you give, and everything. And she didn't fill it out because she didn't want to even consider that she was dying. I think she knew it, she just didn't want to put it out there, right? And so that was something that got put to the side when she was really sick. But when she was good and healthy, it was like she was doing so many other things, writing in journals and studying and reading these books on cancer and religious books and everything. And that's something that I wish so badly that she had filled out. Advice, and I did find a couple emails. We had made an email address for her, and she had sent these emails to Hensley's email address. I found a couple of those, but that would be one thing that I would say, consider your children if there's a worst case scenario, but don't dwell on the worst case scenario. Be positive, be optimistic, hope for the best, expect the best, but also prepare for the worst. And if you have something like that written out, holy cow, it's like a life-changing thing that you can have. So let's bring them in, huh?
Let's bring them in.
All right.
Thank you guys again for being here. Treagan, Hensley, thank you for everything you shared just now. We're just going to jump right back into it. We're happy to have all three of you back in here. Dan, we're going to start with you, if that's all right. After reflecting on Kim's story now for, almost 10 years now. It feels that. What have you learned personally from this experience? I know you touched on that earlier, but what is something now, like in your present life, that you have learned?
We don't have enough time in this live stream for that. I think for me, it was neat to look back at the recipe that I got to sit down and write with Kim. Like she said, I have all these thoughts, I have all these things that are really important to me, and we just needed to put it on paper so that she could share it with the world. And I remember just how poignant her words were at that time, and how methodical she was. Like, gratitude, you have to have gratitude. And she just listed all these things that were like, matter of fact, if you do this, you can live a beautiful life. And that's where that messy but beautiful life came from, is she was just like, man, it's hard and it's messy. And she listed, I'm like, that's it. That's your recipe. Meanwhile, I didn't realize that I was learning what the recipe would be for me moving forward as I faced my own challenges. And I know that's everybody. As you watch the film, you get to see Kim's recipe. She lays it out for you. And she says, this is what you can do to live a beautiful life. But it's not going to be easy. And I think that direct application from my personal story in so many ways saved my life, made my life better, made me see things that I would have missed before. And Kim was so good at doing that. Everybody here in this room is so good at articulating those things and sharing those experiences with us as we filmed the documentary, that it became my own mantra, my own song. And I started a gratitude journal. I started to do these things almost like, I want to see if this works for me, and it did. And I'm just so grateful that Kim laid that out for me. Not that she just put it on paper, but that she lived it. Like, that's the key with her story, is when you watch this documentary, you see that she lived it. These weren't just nice things she got from a planner at Hobby Lobby, It's like, oh, have gratitude and, believe in God. Right. She was like, no, these are key ingredients to living a messy but beautiful life, and being able to actually see God throughout that whole experience, at no matter what part in the journey you were in. Kim knew how to see God, and she taught me that.
Yeah. Can you pinpoint like a specific memory during filming and everything that kind of reflects that?
Oh yeah, lots of them. I remember when we were in the ICU with her, and it was the same, experience that Hensley shared when they were listening to their song. And I remember just that fear going into that surgery. And I remember Jane's eyes. I remember everybody's eyes. I just, for whatever reason, I was just watching everyone's eyes in that moment, and just feeling so like, so honored and blessed to be in that space. And that's why I say it's a sacred space, because we got to be with the family, the people that Kim loved the most, and she trusted us with that. And I remember Kim going into surgery and us doing puzzles out in I don't know if you remember that, out in the lobby. And my first interaction with a few of her friends and other people, and just talking and just trying to pass time. And then just that abrupt, like, she's out of surgery. And I'm skipping forward. It was hours.
13 hours.
It was a lot of hours.
13 hours later.
And we went in to the ICU, and I remember Kim opening her eyes, and it just being like this, like, whoa. And it wasn't like, oh, she survived a surgery. It was like, she's still here. She must still have some work to do. And it was, once again, I use that word absolute. She was on a mission. And as soon as those eyes were open, she was on her mission again. Probably the only time when she wasn't on a mission is when she was under anesthesia. Because she was just so driven, and she could share her message through her eyes. And I hear people talk about that as they watch her story, is they see something in her. And I think that is reflective of what we can see in ourselves and what we can do differently with our own lives, so that when people look in our eyes, they see that same thing, that we're doing something with our lives. Kim made it easy because she shared everything, But I think it's just honoring that person and what their individual journey is like, and not worrying about how to build drama into the story or how to build these other artificial things into it, but document the real thing that is happening right in front of you and making sure that other people get to see those sacred moments.
Right. And kind of related to that, that's kind of how she best amplified light, and it sounds like we're so grateful that we have the opportunity here at Angel to share that with our Angel Guild members. And so, just a question for you, Dan, related to that: what it was like bringing this story to Angel?
Yeah, I mean, building this relationship with Angel over the last few years is really important, and Kim's story amplified everything that you guys have shared with us about light and getting content out there in the world that will actually do good and change people's lives for the better. And that was something that we felt as a team as we were capturing things, and Kim felt and the family felt, and their messaging was like, this is bigger than us. So we need to treat it with that level of respect and honor. And it wasn't that we just had to find the right place for it that would do just that. And Angel was a perfect partner in that, because your mission fit Kim's mission so well. Used similar words, used light. And I think it's ironic that you look at those two things and you look at how people are responding to it and how their lives are being changed. People are actually anxious and ready to watch Kim's journey because they want to be better. They want to have more light in their life. And Kim gives that to you. Yeah. And it's in a home where you're safe, and you can put the walls down and sit down and watch a feature-length documentary that changes you. And you will be different after you watch this.
Yeah. I kind of want to connect that and pivot that to both you, Jane and Gary, about this, with reflecting back at the past 5 years and finally having this out and ready for people to watch. What do you think excites you most about having this finally available? What's been the most exciting part about it, just for you guys individually?
Yeah, we are so grateful that she's out there again. It's as if she's been reborn in a different form. But Kim was just so adamant about, you can still find joy in the journey, even when things are crappy. You can still find joy in the journey. And she wanted people to understand that. That was important to her. And I think that lesson in the movie, you can see that that's where she's headed with this thing, is you can still do fun things. You can still get through the hard. She was just so much about bringing life, even in the crappy stuff.
Did you have one to add to that?
I think I'm just excited that it's out there to have people see what kind of a girl she really was.
Yeah, me too.
I think they knew that, but this is reinforcing it again, I think.
Well, I remember when she, and it's on the film of her getting tackled by the goalie playing soccer. And she literally lost her MCL or PCL or meniscus and her ACL. All four of them in that one whack from that goalie. And I can remember being home on the couch and she'd said, "What is this trying to teach me? I can't even imagine, Mom. What am I supposed to learn from this?" Patience, 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 fortitude, get up and go again. And it took her a while to get back into that. And she worked her tail off. But she learned so much from that happening to her, preparing her for the next thing that she had to face, which was stinking cancer. And there was a time when I think that it really hit me that God is in the details, and that was one of her big sayings, God is in the details. Yeah. And it doesn't matter whether you have a religion of whatever kind of religion or not, but believing in God is a really important thing, and that's what she wanted out there, was to have people believe in a higher power of some sort to help you get through your trials. And this one day, it was a Friday, I had organized my classroom. I taught first grade. I had organized it to get me through the whole week. Everything was ready, and I went home and I thought, wow, I've never done that. Never had 5 days ready ahead of time. And Monday morning, I'm driving to school, and just feeling really good, and all of a sudden I get this voice that says to me, Kim needs you. And I almost stopped the car and I went, I'm on my way to school. What do you mean Kim needs me? And that voice came again, Kim needs you. So having God in the details was really strong that day, and I called my substitute who would help me previous days. She says, I can't be there till 10, but I can come. Will that work? And I said, yep, I'll take whatever you can do. So I went and got school started. She showed up at 10. I left, drove up to Kim's house, and she had been to the park with this little cutie. I got out of the car, and she was come down the sidewalk, and she looked at me and fell in my arms and said, Mom, how did you know I needed you today? God is in the details, Kim. And I have continued her lifted by angels, and there's a necklace that we give each of these cancer mommies that says God is in the details. Mine's broken at the moment, so I don't have it on. But that's how you make it through trials.
You just can't destroy hope and a belief in somebody greater than you. And that was adamant with Kim. That's something I do know. And I look forward to that day when I can just sit down with Kim and say, talk to me, tell me about it.
I kind of want to leave this next. I just have a couple more questions for you guys to kind of wrap up our time together. But if there is one thing you guys, each of you, could tell Kim right now, what would you tell her?
Come get me.
I'm headed there one piece at a time.
That's all.
You know, that's what her grandpa said to her at her casket.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
he was 90,
Mm-hmm.
and my dad, and he literally idolized that girl. He loved her to pieces. He went to every one of her game, and he said to her, okay, honey, my fighter's gone. I can go home now. Come and get me. And 2 months later, he died.
Gone. He died.
And called her his fighter.
Mm-hmm.
If she can do this, I can do this. And he's 90.
Dan, Treagan, Hensley, did you guys have anything?
There's a lot of things. Like every day, there's something I can go. I was like, oh, I wish I could tell this to Mom, but like, I would just tell her about my life, the new music I'm into, all my new friends, boys. Boy. School, just stuff like that. Just more about my life now and how different it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have the same sentiment. There's stuff every day. But there's every day I want to tell her what's happening in life, what I just learned, what I just went through that was really difficult that she was able to help me with without being here to help me. Things that have changed, things that have changed in one way or another, things that I found out that she did that was like, why didn't you tell me? And I want to argue with her again, and I want to I want her to put me in my place again, and I want to go kick the ball around with her again, and I want to know what happened and why I felt certain things after she passed away, or why I didn't feel certain things. It wouldn't be enough if I was given a question or an hour or a day or a year, because there's so much to talk about that I want advice on, I want her knowledge on, and I want to discuss everything. I want to see what they went through. I want to see what it was like when you died. I want to know what's happening. I want to know what I can look forward to.
Everything.
Everything.
Yeah, everything. Why
and
wouldn't
reminisce. You want to reminisce about all things. Remember this, remember this, and
absolutely.
So it's there's too much to say. I think about.
I don't blame you. Yeah, did you have anything?
Tough act to follow. What questions would I ask Kim? I've got to see her again. I think that's the common thread I would say we all believe is that Kim's still there. I don't know if I could have been given a better gift from Kim than having this part of honoring her story. That trust that she put in me, that was so immediate, and I'm so grateful for that. And just to be able to be let into somebody's life like that, and to be in charge of that is heavy. I can just tell you right now, there was a lot of emotions and tears in those edit bays as we were working, looking through all of Kim's old photos and videos, watching early drafts of the documentary. I think we got up to like 120 versions of the documentary by the time we were done, because it was such a heavy weight that we were carrying, and it had to be what Kim would be proud of. And I'm just so honored that she would trust me with that, and that she gave me that gift, and then the gift of her recipe, like, and being able to, like, I feel like I had the front seat to that, and being able to just say, okay, now I get to show it to everybody, and what a gift that was, that she put that trust in me, and that now I get to watch Kim's effect. It's like light bulbs going off across the world right now.
I was just going to say, the thing he could ask her is, how'd they do?
How'd I do? That's a great one.
Is it okay?
Yeah, are you pleased?
She's given me plenty of, those moments where I feel like I had this moment after the film came out. I forgot about this till you mentioned it. Where it was just a feeling of, you did it. Like we worked so hard, and there were so many people involved. It wasn't just me, and this was a big ask, and we took it very seriously. And then it was just that feeling of, you did it. Like, now just watch what happens. And I just think that's the most beautiful part of this, is when you put somebody's heart and story out there, and then you watch everybody else internalize it and start living differently. We only hear like a fraction of those stories of people that are doing something different with their life as a result of watching this film. And that has been worth it over and over and over again to watch those. I had a lady that reached out that said, I watched this film 6 times. 6 times.
I love that.
I have a friend who just came to me and said, I want you to come and talk to people. What? Because she just was she kept watching it. Her husband goes, honey, you cry through the whole thing. Why are you watching that?
Why do you put yourself through this?
Because she's so inspiring. She
changes you, yeah.
She just changes you, yeah.
I want you to be better.
Yeah. No, thank you. When I watched it, it made sense why it was titled Breaking Into Beautiful. I was like, it makes sense now. So
you have to think about it for a sec.
A little bit. But it's good that it makes you think. Though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, Dan, Jane, Gary, Hensley, Treagan, thank you for sharing your hearts with us tonight here at Angel Studios. We have been privileged by your time here. Want to thank you for, all the experiences you shared, the memories and the challenges and the struggles, everything in between. And I know even just this live stream, I think so many people, myself included, will walk away really inspired that, we can overcome the most challenging of things that life throws at us, and that there's someone there in the works helping us get through it all. And so I just want to thank you guys for coming on tonight and being here, and thank you for giving us the chance to share your incredible movie about an incredible woman. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We are so grateful for the Breaking Into Beautiful team for all that they shared with us during our time together, and especially also giving Angel Studios the opportunity to share their incredible film with you all. And so if you haven't already joined the Angel Guild to watch this film, you can do so by going to angel.com/beautifullive. And as a reminder, once you sign up, make sure to gather the family together this weekend and sit down and enjoy this movie, and maybe grab a box of tissues. You might need them. And as briefly mentioned earlier, you can learn more ways to help young mothers in their cancer fight, just like Kim, by following their Instagram account called Lifted by Angels, or you can also visit the website by going to liftedbyangels.org. So make sure to check that out and see in what ways you can help young mothers like Kim. And lastly, in case you missed it earlier in the stream, let's go ahead and check out that trailer, Breaking Into Beautiful, one more time. Thanks so much for tuning in tonight, and See you on the next live stream. Bye.
You have an airway that scares the hell out of a lot of people. Honestly, if they can't intubate you, they can't do anything, you could die.
Well, first of all, there's a lot of new faces on here. Hello. Welcome to the insane roller coaster ride of fighting cancer for 5.5+ years.
She was diagnosed very late with a very bad cancer to have.
He literally looked at me and said, chemo doesn't really work for your type of cancer. I don't know what else to do. You probably have 2 to 3 months to live. I'm 26 years old. My daughter's 18 months old. And you're just looking at me right now telling me I'm dying and that there's nothing I can do. Is this really it? Like 2 or 3 months and I'm gone. I will never forget a comment that I got on Instagram from someone, and she said, I don't even believe in God, but I can't hear about your story and not believe in miracles.
From the ashes, from the dark.
I'm a firm believer that people come in your life for a reason. I kept thinking, why are this woman and I friends? How did we meet? How is this happening?
I know you think she's dying, and I know her body seems like she's dying, but this is your first interaction with Kim. She felt very clearly that she was being kept alive for something. And she was like, I have to share this. I think God is keeping me alive because God wants me to tell people about it.
This isn't a recipe for overcoming cancer. It's a recipe for living a messy but beautiful life.